Welcome to Context News. We have a very special show today because this is the Independence Day episode. And I think it's a good opportunity on this Independence Day, rather than firing up those wieners and shooting the fireworks and, listening to all the nostalgic bullshit about how great we are, blah, blah, blah. I think it's a good time to take stock of exactly where the we really are. I am an American. Now, what is an American? And that's a good question on this Independence Day, isn't it? Well, you can't really answer the question, what's an American, until you answer the question, what is America? Is America just some landmass defined by its borders and oceans and latitude and longitude? No. Or is America just whatever the concept of America is that's floating around in everybody's heads? Nope. You see, America is not some thing at all. It's not real, like this table. You ready? Here's what America is. America is a conversation. And that conversation is the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. You know that crap they teach in school about how Christopher Columbus discovered America? Bullshit. There was no America until 1776 when those documents got created. Now, if you don't get that, then you'll never get what it is to be an American. What is an American? Is an American just someone who happened to be born on this landmass that's known as the United States? No. Is an American someone who happened to pass all the tests and check all the right boxes and then, take the oath and got their, certificate of citizenship? No. Is an American someone who happens to have the United States, stamped on their passport? No. What it is to be an American is to honor the conversation that is America. We would honor the agreements, the principles, the laws, all that is there in those founding doctrines. So being an American isn't a matter of what one is. It is a matter of what one honors. Being an American is a matter of integrity, and not some bullshit morality integrity, moral, good, bad, blah, 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 that horse that they give you about we're the moral compass of the world. That ain't in the documents anywhere. We're talking about integrity, like the real integrity of the honoring of one's word. And the word that we honor, that makes us Americans, is the word of the Constitution, the word of the Declaration of Independence. That is what we are, that word. See, when this experiment known as the United States first got invented, government was created to exist for one thing and one thing only, and that was service. To be in service of us, we the people, and we the people had the power. And here's what they said. Governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. But here's what happened, and here's the news. At some point, the context shifted from one of service to one of power. What used to be government was set up so people got into office to serve. Now people get into office for the power that the office gives. So what you have now is a system that spits out men and women who suck at governance and leadership, but who are brilliant at campaigning. We know those motherfuckers are never going to tell us the real truth. And they know they're never going to tell us the real truth. Because the game ain't to serve, it's to win. Now what about us in this whole deal? See, when America got generated, when America got invented, the context for what it was to be an American was one of responsibility. The government is accountable to us, and we are responsible in that matter. That's not how it is now. We don't relate to the government like they're accountable to us. We now live like being an American is a right. It's not a responsibility. It's a right. It's an entitlement. We deserve shit as Americans. That's not how it was set up. See, there are really only two things that you're entitled to as an American. Jack and shit. So, how does all this play out? How does this shift in context actually look in reality? In the aftermath of the 2000 presidential election, remember that one? In Bush v. Gore, the Supreme Court broke all precedent and stopped the counting of the votes, stripping us, you and me, we the people, of our most sacred voice, the vote, and appointed our first president. That was our first non-elected president. Now, does anybody talk about that? Is that what's in the history books? Absolutely not. Because the way it is now is what's important is not really democracy. What's important now is not really the principles that this country was set up on. What's important now is that we all keep the bullshit pretense of democracy and what this country is alive. In 2003, our government passed the Patriot Act, touted by our leaders as a necessity in protecting our freedom, when in fact it was exactly the opposite. Part of the act was the repeal of habeas corpus, historically considered to be the fundamental instrument for safeguarding individual freedom against arbitrary and lawless state action. It's gone. Poof. You've all heard of Iraq, right? See, the Iraq War, when we got into it, we said that the rationale was to combat terrorism, to rid the world of Saddam's weapons of mass destruction, and to bring democracy to the Middle East. Here's what actually happened. The Iraq War has generated a 7-fold increase in the yearly rate of fatal jihadist attacks. The war reinvigorated radical Islamic militants in the region, set back women's rights, and weakened an already precarious healthcare system. Meanwhile, the $212 billion reconstruction effort was largely a failure, with most of the money spent on security or lost to waste and fraud. Right now, Iraq is on the brink of civil war. Al-Qaeda now controls territory that stretches more than 400 miles across the heart of the Middle East, controlling more territory in the Arab world than it has done at any time in its history. And what did it cost us? The U.S. war in Iraq has cost $1.7 trillion, with an additional $490 billion in benefits owed to war veterans, expenses that could grow to more than $6 trillion over the next 4 decades, counting interest. There's also a burden on the U.S. veterans and their families, with U.S. medical and disability claims for veterans of the war totaling $134.7 billion. The war has killed 4,804 U.S. and coalition troops. Also killed were 134,000 Iraqi civilians, with some estimates as high as 4 times that number. Who won in the Iraq War? Who were the victors? The American people? No. The Iraqis? Absolutely not. The Middle East? No. The free world? No. On every count, we failed. Now, where are our leaders? Who's stepping forward and saying, that's my failure. I f***ed up. And as accountable to you, the people, this is what I'm going to do to account for that. They're not there. Zip, zero, nada. Our leaders are no longer accountable to us, we the people. They are no longer accountable to those who vote. They are accountable to those who fund their campaigns. See, if you want to know who's really got the power, look to see whose interests are really being served. In 2010, in the Citizens United case, the Supreme Court ruled that corporations are the same as individuals, and as such can spend unlimited amounts of money to fund political campaigns. The dissenters on the court said that allowing corporate money to flood the political marketplace would corrupt democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the news. Here's the time to wake the f*** up. You no longer live in a democracy. This country is not yours. The United States is a plutocracy. Plutocracy, from Greek, meaning wealth, and kratos, meaning power, dominion, rule. Plutocracy defines a society or system ruled and dominated by the small minority of the wealthiest citizens. And as Americans, as we the people, this has happened on our watch. Thomas Jefferson warned Experience hath shown that even under the best forms of government, those entrusted with power have in time and by slow operations perverted it into tyranny. We need independence now more than ever, but not independence from King George or for some outside force. We need independence from our own resignation. We need independence from our own cynicism, our own complacency, our own, hey, leave us the f*** alone. Just let us please keep the illusion of democracy, the illusion of safety, this patriotic, romanticized bullshit, this theme park version of America. Just let us have that. That's what we got to tell the truth about. That's what we need f***ing freedom from. Let's use this as an occasion to really get straight with ourselves, tell the truth, and say, you know what? I stopped being an American. I stopped having this be my country.